And what's been wild to me is that from the miscarriage to the kidney thing, everybody's like, oh, I've gone through this. My family's gone through this. You know, we know somebody. In the moment though, you feel like it's just you. We're like coming up on this thing with trying to figure out how we want to raise Luca. That was a big conversation this week.
I want to co-parent with you. Gentle parenting just gets like such a bad rap of like...
It sounds like parents who are pussies raising kids.
Well, yeah, and like let the kids do whatever they want, and like that's not the case. Let's talk about something happy, shall we?
What did you say earlier? You're like, I feel like all of our podcasts or my therapy session we're just putting on the internet.
Basically, it's just me crying the entire time.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm not emotional about it. I think we just express them sometimes differently.
Sure.
Is that fair?
If you say so.
Okay.
But yeah. We have some happy things coming up, like this new baby joining us in less than 6 weeks. So maybe we talk about that.
I think this is the first time like just yesterday when we were like doing stuff around the house that I was getting excited about the baby coming.
Yeah.
I think up until this point, it's just been, for me, it's always just been like this thing that's going to happen. And as a dude, it's always weird. Like having a kid is weird. The pregnancy is weird because I have no connection to this kid. And you've had a connection over the last 7 months and I don't. My life hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
What was it like yesterday for you? Because you said the same thing.
Yeah. It was exciting because I felt like we were actually doing things together to get ready for the baby, and it made it like feel more real, even though there's still like house projects that we were doing, not really like getting a lot of baby stuff ready. It was still like exciting.
That was your list. I was just following it.
I know. Well, and we were sharing because it included just going through like some old paperwork, and ended up stumbling on like Luca's birth certificate and like his "I'm a boy" card that they give you when he's first born, and like his ultrasound pics, and then we started sharing pictures together. I was like up on the 3rd floor and you were down here. We were just like texting each other, and so I think like that was just fun, and it made me like a little emotional but like excited, you know.
Are you excited about this? Are you tired of being pregnant?
Yes.
What is that like? I mean, so it's this, what is it like? Because you're pregnant and obviously it's this gift, and at the same time, it seems like it's a marathon. So where are you at?
It's a marathon for sure. And I feel like the pediatrician said it best this week when we went in with Luca, and she was like, being pregnant and taking care of a toddler is like an Olympic sport. You're just like, your body is doing so much, and taking care of a toddler is already like exhausting. And so just every day is so up and down, and also like riding this emotional hormonal roller coaster.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I haven't experienced that piece of it yet.
Really? Wow.
There's only three parts about pregnancy I like. Right? The first part is where you get pregnant. Like that's
exciting.
Fun. That's exciting. Okay, 4 parts. The first part is actually making the baby. The second part is finding out you're pregnant. The third part is finding out the sex, and then the fourth part is meeting the kid.
Yeah.
Everything else, like I do not like pregnancy. And I don't like it because I feel like I get nervous every time we go to a doctor's appointment. I have like this physiological reaction thinking that something might go wrong. And even the doctors and the nurses have a very unique way of explaining things that are wrong with the baby, but they don't give you like the probability or the severity of it. And so even when you ask them questions, it always leaves me feeling like uncomfortable. Yeah. So like this thing with baby number 2 and his kidney has left me like nervous. And I'm sure you feel nervous too. But the other part of it too is like outside of the baby, there's me watching you, and I can only support so much. But the emotional piece, like there's just things that you have to process where I'm just like, this makes 0 sense to me while you're upset about this. So I'm just going to do my best to hold the space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know, it's just a lot. There's a lot of emotions, even just like bringing in a new kid, and you want your baby, you want nothing more than your kids and your baby to like be healthy, you know? And so it's like the unknown too. We don't really know what is going to happen when this baby is born. Like, hopefully the kidney stuff will resolve because they said it's, you know, highly likely, but also it couldn't.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I've tried to be pretty open about these things with just the people that follow this. And what's been wild to me is that from the miscarriage to the kidney thing, everybody's like, oh, we've done this. Like the messages have been like, I've gone through this. My family's gone through this. You know, we know somebody.
Right.
And in the moment though, you feel like it's just you. But you start to realize that these conversations don't happen in society because for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like taboo or people just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think nobody talks about those things?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to talk about things when they're... It depends on the type of relationship, you know, like you have your surface level relationships, but then you also have like your close friends and family that you talk about like some of this deeper stuff with.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Do you talk to your friends about how I drive you crazy?
I have a select few.
That's good. That's good. I talk about you too to some of my friends.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think it's a good, healthy outlet.
Yeah.
Not like I'm talking shit, but I go up and I'm like, dude, I don't fucking know how to deal like with what's going on.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, the fights that you get into when you're pregnant. We didn't fight first trimester, and we didn't fight second trimester. But this third one, like it's been a couple,
Well, we've had a lot of big changes.
Yeah, we have.
This year. Like, you're traveling every other week.
But we're figuring that piece out. We are.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Whatever.
No, you don't think so?
Yeah, we are. It just, yeah. We're figuring it out.
What were you going to say?
Care. We're figuring it out, but like, still it's not ideal or how I like envisioned us bringing in like a new baby.
I agree.
Know? Like I thought you would be here, but
yeah,
it's not the reality of the situation.
You're
so
right. Yeah, it's something we're both working through.
Yep.
Yeah. What about last pregnancy in comparison to this pregnancy? Like, has it been easier? Has it been harder? Like what? Because for me, it looks like it's been easier in some ways, but way harder because like Luca's here. What about, how are you feeling about that?
I feel like it's been way harder.
Yeah.
Like I used to take a nap every afternoon when I was working full time and I was pregnant with Luca because I would just be exhausted from the day and just exhausted from pregnancy. And that's like not the case when you're pregnant and chasing after a toddler. You get 2 hours a day to do anything that you want, whether it be work out, feed yourself, clean up the house, get something ready for baby, you know? So I feel like it's been literally like running a marathon every single day.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep up with things and keep up with life. And also,
so was it harder? Because when you had a full-time job, you didn't have 2 hours, you didn't have any more than 2 hours to yourself then. So what's the difference now?
When the full-time job that I had, you're like at a desk. So you're just sitting all day. It's not like you're expending a ton of energy just sitting there. Like now, every single day with like chasing after a toddler, I get like 10,000 steps in or like 4 miles.
I guess I meant from like from a time perspective. You don't have more time now.
No, but like when you don't have a kid and you're pregnant, like you have the time and the flexibility to be like, okay, I'm gonna go run to Target, the grocery store, the post office, the mall, I don't know. And like you can do that all within like a few hours.
Yeah.
And like with a toddler, it's like you're accounting for like their lunch or their nap schedule and
them pooping in the corner at the mall.
yeah. Getting in and out of the car seat.
It's like wrestling an alligator, get that kid in the car seat. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, that is my least favorite part of.
Yeah. So this one's been harder.
definitely harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're like coming up on this thing with trying to figure out how we want to raise Luca. That was a big conversation this week.
That was a big conversation.
How was that for you?
Well, I'm glad we had it because I want to co-parent with you. You know, like I feel like we should have our values should be aligned in how we're raising each other. And like if you're on one side of the parenting spectrum and I'm on the other, like we're just gonna feud, and that causes resentment too.
And we thought we were on the opposite ends.
Yeah, we
You
did.
you were very gentle parenting, and apparently I was Joseph Stalin over here, just a dictator. I don't know if that's the right one, but it was very apparent that we had different viewpoints on it at the surface level.
Yeah.
What was it like after we talked about it, though? Would you realize?
That we're actually like more on the same page than we were on the opposite side of the spectrum.
You kept sending me, who was it? Like Big Little Feelings and a bunch of other Instagram profiles about how to raise your kids and give them the space. And I was like, let me see these people's kids.
Right.
Because I want to see, are your kids just like assholes? Like, are they just running around doing whatever they want? Like, they're actually, like, they're the alpha in the house?
Right.
Because if that's the case, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if I understand what they're saying, right, you have to make room for this kid's feelings. You have to be able to hold the space for them so that they don't like suppress their feelings when they get older.
Right.
I'm 100% on board. But the thing that we came up to was what? Boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not gonna gentle parenting just gets like such a bad rap of like
Well, it sounds like parents who are pussies raising kids.
Well, yeah, and like let the kids do whatever they want, and like that's not the case. There are rules and there are boundaries that we have to set and like are firm on within the household. It was just like having our conversation of like what are those values?
Yeah. I think we're on the same page with values, like as a couple, like as a marriage and all that type of stuff, like you and me.
Right.
I think we have the same values for our kids, like connection. We want them to be able to express themselves. We want them to be strong. We want them to be independent. Maybe that's the values that we want for them, but the values that we hold close to ourselves. And I think I came to realize is like the way my parents raised me was great, but it wasn't perfect. And what you told me was the way your parents raised you, they had some things that were great, but it wasn't perfect. I truly believe that our parents did the best they possibly could with what they had.
Right.
But now our job is to take the good stuff, eliminate the bad things, and then find our pace.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I feel like in our generation, there's so much information out there that it can get overwhelming and like creates this pressure to be the perfect parent when in reality, like a perfect parent doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like
And I meant to tell you this earlier, but we're going to say it right here on the internet. I would challenge you to stop looking so many things up and start trusting your intuition. Because from what I see from a distance is you already know what it is to do.
Yeah.
And I believe that you get overwhelmed with information on the internet and you become paralyzed and then you are like judging yourself. You're a good fucking mom.
Yeah.
And these internet profiles, it doesn't mean that they know everything.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I want to see their kids. Show me your kids, people. Let me see if they misbehave or not.
I don't know. I feel like, well, it's also like what feels good to you too. You know, like I just notice for myself that, you know, when I'm feeling any sort of like negative emotion, then I carry that out with Luca and like maybe that shows up in like yelling and leads to disconnection, and then we're just like in this cycle. And if you can show up with like empathy and like connection and trying to be with them, like all of a sudden things are, you know, easier. And I feel like there's honestly like less tantrums. It's easier to get him into the high chair or the car seat and things like that. So
well, I believe like our energy gets felt by him and then he just mimics whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
So when you're walking around or I'm walking around angry, frustrated, disconnected, he sees you and I bickering or he sees you and I like not showing affection, he is going to feel that.
Yep.
And that's going to be what he then mimics based off of us.
And looks for,
Yeah. So that's why I'm so a big proponent of like we have to work on us. Like I have to get my stress levels under control.
Right.
I have to be able to manage my emotions through meditation and journaling and therapy and coaching. Because without that, there's no way that I can step into this scenario where he's just like screaming his face off, smacking me in the face, and be able to stay calm.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I see why parents used to spank kids, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've put my hands in my pockets a few times to be like, don't do it.
Yeah. Or stay in your crib.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I
or
love
I
you.
get in the crib and put him on the outside so he can't get me. That's probably the better move. Ha ha, fucker, you can't get in.
Yeah, if only the crib wouldn't break.
Yeah, it probably will. But yeah, I've gotten slim and trim over the last few weeks, so
Yeah.
thanks for noticing.
Me too. Thanks.
So we were talking about, we were supposed to meet with our doula today, and we're using the same doula, Lisa Waldo,
Yes.
as we did for the birth of Luca. She's wonderful.
Amazing.
And so I want to talk real quick just about like the first birth experience
Yeah.
versus what you want to change coming into this one. Because I have a few things in my mind that I want to redo. But first I want to hear, like, what are some of the things that you experienced? Like, what are some of the core memories from the first one?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Well, Lisa's just like incredible, and I feel like she had me like training for birth like weeks in advance because we're like starting to work pretty closely now at 34 weeks. And so core memories are like just getting like your body kind of ready for
What is she having you
your
do?
labor.
Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, it was like 300 squats a day, like eating certain foods. I don't want
what-
to share like all of her secrets because
Okay.
I feel like that's
Respect?
yeah,
Yeah.
out of respect of her, and she's just so amazing. Like you have to work with her if you want to
Yeah,
do her.
fair. I appreciate that.
So like eating certain foods, and then there's like certain like movements and things that you can do to like get your body and your pelvis kind of ready
What
for
do they call it?
labor.
Cervix ripening? Dude, if I never have to hear the phrase cervix ripening again in my life, I think I'm going to be okay. Like the first time you told me that, I think I did like, I was like, what is
Yeah,
that?
you don't have to say it anymore.
Say what?
No.
Okay,
we won't
continue.
say it
All right.
And then, gosh, what was the other thing? Like acupuncture and like making sure the baby's in the right position. And so like leading up to that stuff is definitely like a core memory. And then obviously how like birth came on for me, and then that whole experience.
So we were walking, well, first off, the day that you're like, dude, I got to get this thing out of me. By this thing, I mean Luca. You were told to like follow this protocol, and then that protocol would induce labor. Well, you misheard the instructions, and instead of it inducing labor, you just shit yourself for like 3 hours.
And but that's what it's supposed to do. Like it's supposed to like get everything out of your body, and because your stomach is like contracting, it's supposed to
Induce.
gotcha,
Gotcha.
like labor contractions.
But you didn't take enough, and so it didn't induce it. So then you had to do it again. But in between, we were walking up and down the stairs in the house, and then we were out on a walk. And I'll never forget it. We're out on a walk, and all of a sudden, what happens?
My water broke because you were like partly my coach too, along with Lisa, and you're like, okay, at every corner we're gonna stop and do like 20 air squats or something.
Yeah. It was cool to be able to like boss you
Yeah.
around a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Like you don't every day. But yeah, my water broke during an air squat, and then we were like, okay.
Yeah.
I went home, took a shower, labored at home for maybe, I don't know, an hour or
Laboring
so.
at home was terrifying.
Yeah.
So Lizzie had this plan that she wanted to do, which, listen, your body, your choice. So I followed through on it, even though I highly disagreed with the plan, right?
What?
Hold on, and this is why. But I couldn't tell you in the moment because like this was your thing, and I was going to respect whatever it is. I'm not getting ready to push a baby out of my penis, so I had to respect what you were doing. But when you're like, I want to labor at home, so we're upstairs. You had just gotten out of the shower. and you're like laying on the ground. And so like I was trying to just like keep you calm and let you be there. But at the same time, I was like, shit, I gotta call Lisa. So I called Lisa in the other room, and on the phone, she's like, well, what are her contractions? Like, how far apart are they? I was like, I don't know. I'm like freaking out. So I start tracking them, and I tell her, and she's like, you guys need to come to the hospital now. I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. And, side note, I had messed up the math, so we didn't need to go quite at that point. But you're on the ground, you're like, oh, I can't feel them. And Lisa's like, yeah, you guys need to come now.
Yeah.
So you're laboring, and I was like, shit, we gotta go. So we get out to the Jeep, and we're starting to drive down the street. You're in the back seat on all fours. You sound like a cow that's dying in the back seat, and the windows are both down. And we stop at a light, and this guy pulls up to me, and you're just going, and the guy looks over at me, and I was like, And he goes, and then we drove off, and we were driving 97 miles an hour down 36 up to Boulder, bumping Tiesto. And I was like, we gotta go. I was freaking the fuck out. So anyway.
That's a core memory.
Core memory for sure.
Yeah. I remember being in the back because I was like on all fours, but like my hands were in the car seat because I didn't.
I have a picture of that.
There's not enough room. And I was having like hot flashes, so I'd be like, roll down the window.
Dude.
I remember
I've never
looking out.
That's what I imagine a moose giving birth sounds like.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
Well,
so then we get up to the hospital.
Then we get up to the hospital.
What's like another core memory from that?
Oh, I remember we got to the hospital and you were grabbing the stuff, which thank you. And I just took off into the hospital, and I remember going into the emergency part of the hospital, and there was someone at the check-in counter, and I was just kind of standing back, pacing, and the receptionist was like, "Ma'am, are you in labor?" It's like, "Yes." And then someone came with a wheelchair. I got in the wheelchair, and then we got in the elevator, and there was this little kid that was sitting or standing right in front of me, and I'm having contractions in this wheelchair, and I still think about that kid, and hopefully I didn't traumatize him.
He's probably like, "Mommy, is that a moose?"
Poor kid.
Yeah.
But
I think one of the coolest parts about working with Lisa though is, and for those of you who don't know, I didn't know this, fellas, a doula is basically a birth coach. Mm-hmm. She's going to guide you through these things. She's going to run interference between the doctors and the nurses, because one of the things that Lizzie told me she didn't want to do was have a C-section, and she didn't want any meds. I know you don't like when I call you this, but you're a fucking psychopath. The fact that you gave birth all natural with no meds, no epidural, no Pitocin, can't believe I remember the name of that, right, is insane. At that moment, I was like, I'm going to forever sleep light, because if I do something to you, I'm pretty sure you can murder me.
Well, yeah, it's so much about your mindset too. And I feel like the birth prep that, Lisa works with you on, it just helps you feel more confident going into it.
It made me feel confident too. Mm-hmm. I mean, you made me watch that birth class. I mean, you didn't make me. You asked if I would watch that 12-course birth class. Mm-hmm. Boys, the first episode in the first 30 seconds was just a vagina with a baby coming out, and I was like, hands over the face, couldn't watch. Lizzie's like, oh.
You were in the corner.
I had to get up. I get up and walked off. It was basically like a horror movie, but a real life one, because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
So, but what I will say is having Lisa there to guide me as well and kind of help me build confidence allowed me to step into that experience with you,
right.
To kind of be a little bit more of a rock for you and a coach for you versus me being completely out of control.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's nice too for us women, is I just didn't realize that the midwives or your OB wasn't going to be there the entire time. Paige, my midwife that delivered Luca, she was kind of in and out. I only remember her visiting once or twice maybe to check me at the end right before Luca entered this world, and Lisa was just there the entire time, and I feel that made me feel so much so much better. But do you have any core memories, like once we got to the hospital?
Yeah, there's two. The first one was, so you were like in the bathtub, right? Like in there, kind of like moving around. And then at some point you started to like stall out a little bit, or things started to slow down.
Yeah.
And so they encouraged you to get out and to like walk around. And I remember you were having a contraction, right? And I was sitting there kind of holding you because you're like covered in this white sheet.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there holding you, and you're like, it's coming. I was like, all right, I got this. Boys, I was like, you know what? I was like, just stand in. I was like, you've been to combat. I was like, just hold her hands. I was like, be there for her. And as I'm holding her, she pisses all over my feet, like all over my clothes, all over my shoes. And I was just like, I would just remember being like, holy crap. All right, this is like raw. This is real. And so like
It just like came out.
I
don't
know. It's a very primal experience.
Definitely.
So that was one of my core memories.
Yeah.
Any other for you before like Luca came out?
That was one. I
Yeah.
definitely remember that. But I don't think so. You're just like in the zone doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I was really nervous about going in there.
Yeah.
And Justin, I texted Justin, who's one of my best friends. Hey, we're headed to the hospital. And he's like, have fun, ... Get ready to get primal. And I was like, okay. And when we were up there, it was just, I remember I was just so nervous the entire time. Because there was just like this energy about it. Like I was nervous about you because I didn't want you to have a C-section if you didn't want to. I was nervous about the baby. I was nervous about honestly about like me seeing stuff and passing out. I was really nervous about that.
Yeah.
And so like I would, as you were in the bath, like I would walk out to go get some water, and we had bought a bunch of snacks.
Yeah.
And I think we had a bag of chips, we had trail mix, we had beef jerky, we had like 3 Pro bars and Vuku bars. And over the course of the 4 hours that you were pushing, I ate all the snacks. And I'll never forget, after we were sitting in the recovery room, you're like, babe, can I have some snacks? I'm so hungry. And I was like, I don't know how to tell you this. There are none. And you go, what? I go, yeah, I got nervous and ate them all. So that was a core memory for me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to like hide the snacks in the car this time.
We like finally got out of must be the labor and delivery unit, and they moved us to like the mom baby unit.
Yeah.
It was like 4 a.m. I hadn't eaten for like 12 hours or something.
I was like, do you want Yoplait and Cheerios? They have it down in the little break room. You go, no. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. I think one of the best moments though was you were asleep and Luca was crying. And we put Luca in the bed next to you, and I couldn't sleep. I was just up.
Yeah.
And there's a photo I have of like you laying there and him laying next to you. And I'll never forget just being like, damn, my whole life just changed.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't understand to the extent at which it changed, because even when Luca came out, like I knew that I loved him. Fellas, like I knew that I loved my son, but there wasn't like this connection or bond. And so like if you're getting ready to have a kid, was my experience. Like it didn't come until probably month 4 when he smiled at me. So in that moment, I was just like, damn, my whole life changed forever. And like holding him was terrifying. I didn't want to break him. But that was a really special moment too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, those newborn snuggles.
Yeah.
They're just the best.
So what about this time? Like, what do you want to be different? Listen, this shit's imminent.
I know. I'm ready.
6 weeks is the due date. He can really come anytime now.
Yeah.
So like, where's your head at?
Well, I definitely, like, as we're like talking about this a little bit, I'm like, oh gosh, I have to do this again, which makes me a little bit nervous. So I definitely need to make sure I'm doing like my meditation and getting my mind right to.
Where's your mind at right now?
I'm excited, but still nervous, because there's still so much like unknown that can happen in birth. But yeah, I don't know.
What do you think would happen if somebody went into this whole thing without a plan?
I feel like that's when maybe like the doctors can kind of take over and make a decision for you, and then
It's like this cascading of events.
Yeah.
that you don't really have. That was a big piece. Like, Lisa kind of warned us about the potential of things, how fast they can take place.
Yeah.
Which I think at that point, you and I were like, no, we're going to get this under our control. Like, we'll listen to the doctors, but we're going to default to Lisa. And then I was going to be the one to speak up if we had to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But where's your mindset at right now?
Well, I'm ready to meet this baby. I'm ready to like not be pregnant anymore. But I also know that he needs to cook for at least like a few more weeks to make it full term and be happy. And he needs to gain some pounds too. So, yeah, I'm excited to see Luca as a big brother.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about how we want to introduce like the two of them, and I'm excited, but I'm excited to meet him and like ready to meet him, but at the same time, like definitely not ready.
Yeah.
Like, the house is not ready.
It's not far off. One
Not
more
far
weekend and we'll
off.
be good.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah.
get the snoo back. We got to get the love sack ordered for Luca's room, and we got to get our room ready. That's it. That's really it.
Yeah.
So it's not that far off.
I know. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
I get it.
Maybe make a couple more postpartum meals to feel
We'll
better.
just,
but
if we have to order food, we'll order food.
yeah. I don't
Okay.
know. Where's your mind? Are you ready?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made last time was getting back into work too quickly. And the stressor that I had, because last time Luca was born and within 48 hours, I was back to work. And I think a lot of guys, they don't get paternity leave. You know, I don't know why I said that twice, but here we are. And so 48 hours, it was never intended to be that. I had every intention of doing like 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, but it didn't play out. And in my mind, the reason it didn't play out is I knew you were going to be leaving Verizon. And so with that, we were going to be down to one income. And I felt this internal pressure to make as much money as I could so that we could protect our family.
Right.
And I just didn't do a good job of like delegating tasks. So this time it's going to be different. I believe that the universe either forces things on you to change or you get to do it by design.
Yeah.
And then having this second baby come in, I'm getting forced to make decisions about my business to help me not make the same mistake. So I'm looking forward to taking more time off. I made a commitment to you of 4 weeks. You asked for 8. I said that's not possible. And so you're going to get 4. And I think that's going to be me not traveling. It's going to be me here. But it's also going to allow me to adjust my business to maybe open up some new opportunities for group coaching and really delegate some tasks in real estate, especially right now as you know, you and I are getting ready to have another kid. So that's what I'm going to do different. So my headspace right now is I'm really excited. I'm glad that you and I are like vibing. We're on the same page. We're connected. We're having open conversations. But yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to go from 3 to 4. Like, I feel like Deion Sanders. We coming. You know? We coming.
You and the boys.
Me and the boys.
You and your 2 boys.
Yep. Every morning we're just gonna play Wiz Khalifa. Holla, holla. We them boys. We're gonna walk down the stairs with our shirts off.
Of course you are.
Yeah. And then we're gonna go, Mom, 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 Mom.
And then Luca will show you his muscles.
Yeah. Yeah, he will. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
exciting.
It is exciting. What is one thing that you are hesitant about with me right now as we head into this? Maybe with me or just about us as we head into this baby being born?
Yeah. Well, I think there's just so much unknown. You know, like there is the known because we have Luca and we've done this before, but there's also a lot of unknown in how do we manage our time now and now with 2, you know, and like I'm hoping to nurse and, you know, nursing is pretty much a full-time job in the beginning. So how do you dedicate the time to do that plus entertain my toddler, which is like also a full-time job. You know, he's very hands-on and stuff. So I think that makes me a little bit nervous, but I
What's
don't know.
one thing that you've been trying to practice?
Just
It's 2 words.
Let go. Yeah.
Listen. God's going to give you some opportunities right now to let go.
Well, he already does.
He's going to...
That's completely what parenting is.
It is. And so there's going to be moments where we're both going to have to like let go and just like allow things to happen. And it may not look the way we think it's going to look, but I believe that you and I, with our beliefs and where we stand, like every time that we've been able to let go of something else has come into our life to help work through it.
Yeah.
Right? When we let go of our wedding, what happened?
We planned a better one.
Yeah.
After 3 in between, but yeah.
Right? When we let go of just like trying to force our relationship and trying to be right, what happened?
Things got easier.
Yeah. I think there's a big piece of being able to let go to make space for what is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hopefully just have you consider like there's stuff that's coming for both of us. And just to be in that mindset of just like, what can I let go?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It'll be a lot of trial and error,
Yeah.
I guess, and hopefully getting back to like somewhat of my pre-mom life. And I feel like becoming a mom, I don't know if any other like moms or women feel like this, but I feel like becoming a mom has made me so type A. And like I feel like before we had Luca, and even before I was pregnant with Luca, I was very like free-spirited, free-flowing, like super flexible.
I thought you were a stoner when we first started dating because you were so like aloof. Like I couldn't get you to do anything. Like I was like, hey, date night's at 5, and you would show up at like 8:30. I'd be like, okay. And now all of a sudden you're like, you're very, like you tell me what to do, how to clean sometimes, how to take the stroller out of the car. You're very type A.
Yeah.
And I love you.
I know.
So I bet you there's other women that feel that way. It's probably like this protective thing that comes into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, there's just so much in parenting that you don't control. And so, like, if I can just let go and
One thing that I've learned
easier.
From being like running multiple businesses is that when I feel like I don't have control over something, I try to control other people. And so if there's something that's going on in a transaction, or I don't know how a relationship's going to play out and I have no control over it,
Right.
oftentimes I felt me trying to control you or to control somebody else. And it wasn't intentional. It wasn't even me trying to be manipulative. It was just, I don't have control over here, so I'm trying to find control. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relatable.
Yeah, relatable.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting just how it shows up in like your relationships or elsewhere in life. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to meet this baby.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty not stoked about entering the sex desert, but that's okay. It's a price to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, recovery is a long road.
It is a long road, and I'll be here for it the entire time.
Yeah.
I just say that jokingly. Guys who have had kids, they know about the sex desert. And for those of you who haven't experienced it, it's coming. Good luck. It's okay. It's for both of us.
Yeah.
All right. Any parting words?
I don't think so.
All right, cool.
Except for, if you could be pregnant next time, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, there's some people out there who believe that you can be. I'm not one of them.
Me either.
Hard for you to say.
Yeah.
Listen, we want to say thank you for listening to this. If you found it helpful, if you found it insightful, we'd appreciate if you guys left a review or a 5-star rating, whatever that is, on whatever platform. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and whatever other podcast platforms you're looking for, or you can watch this entire thing on
YouTube.
So until next time, peace.
Bye.
Oh, I forgot to hit record.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.